Hi, I'm Pat Lynch Barrett, and I am here on Women's Radio, and I'm happy to invite you and to meet our wonderful guest again today, Christine Baumgartner. Christine is a relationship expert, truly, and she has demonstrated that in her own life, and she has helped literally thousands and thousands of women and men. And today we're going to talk about the men, specifically how can, as women, or even the men who may be watching, and I hope that they are, how can we all work together in a happier, more productive atmosphere? Now, that could be in a relationship, but a lot of us are working with men, and we have had to go through some learning curves. I know I have. So Christine and I were covering some of this before we started recording. I'm very happy to have Christine with us again. Christine Baumgartner, welcome.
Hi, Pat. Such a pleasure as always to have these wonderful, helpful, hopefully conversations for the women that listen to your station and are in their businesses, maybe having some frustrations with their counterparts, either colleagues or partners in business or customers or salespeople. It can just be rancorous, as we were talking about before we started. It can feel very adversarial, and I'd like to help people feel more like advocates for each other, because wouldn't that be better?
Right.
Because the men I coach certainly would like that. They really are very committed to being advocates and champions for us.
You know, you're the right person to have this conversation with because you coach men as well as women. You hear their side. And often when we're working with men, we don't hear their side. We don't even know their side. So I'm hoping you're going to give all of us some clues, and the men will feel supported, and they will say, yes, that woman was right. And this is how you ought to do it. So go for it.
I do hear that a lot from my male clients. I said, well, what's helpful is I'm a professional coach, plus I'm a woman. And I've had to take a lot of pledges over my life to stop acting in the way that made our relationships adversarial and to turn them more into advocates.
Right.
So you brought up the point of how overbearing and antagonistic and bulldozing it used to feel when we were first in business, and might still, when men just said, well, this is my way or the highway, and just bulldoze over you, and you would just have to acquiesce. And because businesses were generally started and run and controlled by men initially, I mean, women didn't even have the vote for a long time, they had a lot of history of that. And they'd had enough success to think, well, the way I'm doing it is right. And it seems to be working. And I'm making money. I'm supporting my family. I'm making other people's lives better by them and my employees and how I'm running my business. So why would they think there was a reason to change? If, often we think if it's not broken, why are we going to change it? And then women, the wars, what really happened, they went to war, so we had to go
Yes.
do the male jobs. And what really was amazing is we decided that we liked it. Not everybody, but a lot of women said, I like working outside the home. I like this productive feeling. I like figuring out how widgets are made. I like feeling like I'm providing for people. And then the men came back and we were like, I'm not sure I want to go back in the kitchen. And I think I want to have this job and I'm going to fight you for this job. And so I think that's where a little bit of the cantankerous started.
I agree.
And then the feminist movement was very difficult for men and women, I think. I know the intentions were really good to get us equal pay and equal hours for the work we were doing. But what really happened too, just as big, that was when lovely Gloria Steinem said that a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Until she got married a lot of years later and said, oh, I like men and I like being married. And it didn't get quite as much publication. The other thing that happened, especially when we were trying to do business together, is men would say, well, you don't act like a guy, so I don't know what to do with you. And the woman would say, well, you don't think like me, so I don't know what to do with you. And so everybody thought the other person was wrong. And it's not that we're wrong. So if we look back at the last 3 weeks, where we just looked at the variety of personality styles, masculine, feminine, not even part of that discussion at all, just whether or not we're introverts or extroverts, or we're a more driver kind of person or a more inquisitive kind of person, that our personality styles can have a lot to do with it too. And
Yes.
then there's the whole estrogen testosterone thing that happens. So my big battle cry right now is for women to own what men know. Good men, good men. There's yucky men and yucky women. We talked about that. I'm only addressing the good women and the good men in this talk. Good men know women have all the power. They believe it. They truly know it. They just wish we would use it for good. I know, look at your face. This is how women look at me when I say this. Men in the world, in relationship with us, even in business, it's a little different in business than in a personal relationship. In a personal relationship, their highest priority is to make them happy with us, think they're smart, appreciate them, highest priority. Even in business, if it's a good guy and helping us be successful, helping us be happy, helping us feel productive is a very high priority to them if we show them how we're benefiting their business. So in a personal relationship, they love us. In a business relationship, it is about the business. So how do we show them that we're here to make this business that we're in together be successful?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point.
Thank you. So one of the things that men find really annoying
Take
is
notes.
it's when we want to talk about how we feel about the job and all the details of why we feel that way. They don't have a place to hang that on unless they're the head of HR. They're trained more to listen to why we feel the way we feel and why that's upsetting us and why we'd like things differently. Generally, that's why they have an HR department, the CEO, the COO. It's not their job. It's not their job. So what I coach women that are working, have a direct report that's a man, is to get to the bottom line. This is how I would see our business being more successful and how I can contribute it. Outline, boom, bitty, boom, bitty, boom, bitty, boom. Not because we'll talk about somebody else is getting paid more. I got passed over for a promotion. I don't like the person I'm sitting next to. The office is too cold. I mean, I'm telling you, they hear this kind of conversation. All they want to hear is, how are you going to help me with my bottom line? I am happy to promote you. I'm happy to give you more money for it. If you explain to me in minor details with a complete point, bottom line, how it is that we're going to work together. They will change their mind. They will push you to be even greater if they hear why. But you can't put all the details around it. Tell me, tell your girlfriend, tell your husband if you've had a conversation with him about listening to your feelings, tell HR. It's a big mistake that women make, that they want to include their feelings and too many details when they want to present a new program at a company or look for an increase in their money, or they want to get promoted. They need to come with all the business reasons. And what I found too is when I talk to women, because I have a lot of women clients that are in very high positions, even though they understand why you want to talk, they don't have the time. They have a company to run. So
Yes,
even if you're talking to a woman, a 2X chromosome person across the desk about how you want to do something different at the company, do the same thing, because she's in her very masculine place and wants to hear exactly how you're going to help the company, what things you want to put in place or you've already done that haven't been recognized yet, because this will get them on your side. This is where you turn from adversary to advocate, because they will pull back if you're asking them to do things that aren't their job, which was be listen to your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a challenge. I have to have women practice with me before they go in for this kind of an interview with
I
somebody.
think practice is almost mandatory because I know I have gone through several phases of inner growth because of this issue.
Mm-hmm.
And life doesn't remain the same, and all approaches aren't the same. And uh, the people doing it are, they all, every one of us has a learning curve to go through.
Yep.
So I think that we've got to come to grips with what are the very best ways. Do we all agree that this is a good way? And is there, what is proven to be true? Let's put it like that. What's proven to be true for men and for women? What
Mm-hmm.
works best?
So if you've been doing it the other way or any other way and it hasn't worked, you haven't gotten the promotion, you haven't gotten the recognition, you keep feeling passed over, they keep not taking you seriously, then what's the harm in trying it this way? Short and sweet and to the point with enough data that says it was here and now it's here because of me, or it's here and it will be here because of this idea I have.
So, Christine, do
Yes.
you think that women do not do that because they don't have enough self-esteem? Why do you think that they do that?
Well, I think they sometimes they don't have enough self-esteem. And so that's why they kind of beat around the bush.
And add all the details, and these are the
Mm-hmm.
reasons
Mm-hmm.
why, right?
And there's a really good reason we add the details. If we look back at cave time and we needed to go out into the fields and gather a bunch of food and medicine, and we needed to watch out for things that were poison, and we needed to keep track of the kids not running off the cliff, and there might be a
All of
mountain
them.
lion. We had to think about so many things and be in contact with everybody else that was out there with our diffuse
Okay.
awareness and our lots of words communicating. It kept us and our family alive.
Yes, right.
We don't need it at this particular moment in business.
Right.
And it's we're driven to do this for our safety. So if our that's a very good point, because if our self-confidence is low, then we're going to do more of this covering our bases, covering our asses, saying more than we need to say because we're concerned that if we don't get all the details in, they're not going to take us seriously. The thing that I know from the men I talk to is if they have a question, they'll ask. Tell them the outline, give them the bottom line. If they need more details, you get to share all the details you want when they ask. Do not tell them more until they ask. I have had women come back to me who have been sitting in the same place in their company for a while. They weren't moving forward. Nothing was happening helpful. And they tried this technique in a very different way than they've ever done it before. And we practiced a lot.
Oh, good.
And they had very positive results. I
Ah,
have a track record of this. I did it myself and learned kind of the hard way until I figured out to do it a different way. And then when I finally learned it, I now am so excited to teach other women because good men, now if you're working for an asshole, you need to change
to be
companies.
blunt.
Yeah, well, they are. There
Can
are
be.
asshole men and asshole women out there.
Yes,
And if
there
you
are.
know that's really who they are, then you need to do something different. Change
That's right.
departments, change companies. Come on. If they're really a genuinely good guy and he just doesn't like all the details because he's a guy and he really needs you to get to the bottom line because he's a guy, then try this.
Do that. Right.
You, I've had, I have to tell you how many women have come back to me and gone, it worked.
Well, I think that companies ought to hire you to do group therapy
Yeah.
for the men and for the women, and just see what might happen if everybody changed their approach and came to the middle all at one time.
Yes. Because when I'm coaching men, I coach them differently than but your listeners are women. So for this particular broadcast, that's short, little, sweet 15 minutes that you give me, I want you to go try this one thing. If this works, come back and tell us, wow, it
Yes,
works. Give
please.
me more because I have so much more I can teach you. But I love teaching. seminars at companies where I get men and women in the same room because nobody feels bad. Everybody laughs because they see themselves when I go, well, let's have a scenario. And I'm going to say, somebody came in and did this, and somebody came, and they're like, oh my God, that happens all the time. Well, how would you like it if it could be different? I love that kind of conversation.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people who are listening will probably see themselves in this conversation. And because, 50% of our audience are women who are entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a nice number. And
Well,
then
think of
the
all the
rest
men
of them
they
are
deal with.
leading something.
Yeah. Think of all the men they deal with. So
Really,
you and I have taken the pledge that we're not doing it that way anymore. And so we'll
yes,
have other
ma'am.
women stop.
Yes, well, we were having this conversation before we got started about it. It's probably, we've gone through, as you pointed out, several learning curves on the way here since the war, when we were babies or not even around yet. And so we've thought, oh, well, it's this way. And then that changed. And then we had to learn another way. And then that changed. And, well, that didn't work either. So what is it now? What works now? So I think your approach is absolutely right.
Thanks.
And if everybody can get on the same page at least and agree on the ground rules, as it were,
Yep.
and you can see why that works, I think that all of us will get further. And I think that helps us fulfill the mission, at least one that I have, of being co-creative. I think it's going to be a lot more fun when
Mm-hmm.
more men and women can actually really create things together.
The dual energy is phenomenal. The partnerships that can happen, business, personal, so amazing. So you and I are going to be talking next week, and I will give another technique that people can try. And I'll be so excited to hear if anybody goes and does this with something they've just been sitting in their little craw wondering, how do I get this point across at work? And I'll have my another one next week for you.
That's great. And then I want to suggest that anybody who's listening could probably also reach you through your website.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So why don't you give us the website?
It's www.theperfectcatch.com. You can join my mailing list. At the bottom, you can click on all my social media. You can also send me a personal email at Christine, CHRISTINE, at theperfectcatch.com.
Perfect. That's great. I hope that people will really listen deeply and will write you their burning questions.
Mm-hmm.
And
What's
then,
happening at work that you want to be different?
right. Or with the men that you must work with,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're at your work or they're somewhere else, but you
Mm-hmm.
must work with them. And
Mm-hmm.
what have you found that didn't work? What have you found that did work? Or what burning question do you have? I think that would be a lot of fun.
It would be a lot of fun.
Christine, once again, you're just really right there with really good ideas, and it does come from all your amazing experience in coaching people for such a long period of time.
Well, in my personal journey, as I was stumbling through this and trying to figure it out, which gave me the foundation to now be able to coach other people, because I learned my own lessons for sure.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I think it pays when we do learn things to be able to share them with others. And this is such a fun way to do it.
I'm enjoying it very much, Pat. Thank you so much. I get to
Good.
see
Me
you
too.
every Friday. Lucky me.
Me too. I love it too. And I hope that all of our audience is. And we'd like to know if you agree with us and that this is a really useful conversation. Thank you so much, Christine.
And I want to know how many women have that same look on their face when I say that out loud. Because I
That
do get
I
this
had.
a lot. I get that look a lot. I'm used to it. It's okay. I
I
don't take it
hope it
personally.
gets, whatever it was, I hope it gets included in the edits.
It's adorable. It was just adorable. It was so, if I would have scripted, I would have gone, Pat, look this way. And you did. It was perfect.
Well, we'll see you next week, Christine. Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Bye-bye.